Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here or you've been here before but haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We are very close to 10,000 subscribers, and I want to thank everybody who has followed this channel throughout the years and all the new people as well. It's been quite an adventure. I started this channel in the midst of the pandemic, inspired by CP and Jay Ellis, and KFTV and Sims, Nothing But Knicks, and several others. It's been quite a journey, watching the transformation from basically the laughingstock of the NBA to a team last year who had a very legitimate chance of getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. One game away, a few possessions away, really, in some ways. And now we find ourselves here after a really fascinating off-season by Leon Rose. He's constricted by the CBA and whatnot, but somehow was able to bring to this team a center who ended up becoming the all-star for the Eastern Conference. And to join Jalen Brunson, who he brought 2 seasons before that, who became the starting point guard for the Eastern Conference. So the Knicks are now loaded with offensive weapons, but those 2 guys are defensively challenged, though Brunson played some nice defense today, I gotta say. That said, you bring those 2 kind of players to a coach like Tom Thibodeau, you'd think he'd be able to figure out how best to hide them and maximize their actual talents. It's hard to say that he's been able to do that so far, especially when you look at down below. Knicks dropped to 0-7 versus top-tier teams, Boston, Cleveland, and OKC. So the big question is, are the Knicks truly just a sub-elite team? And that's it. Are they the best of the rest? Well, right now, all evidence points to a resounding yes. Now, the issue I have with that is, it's not like it's been close games. It's not like, I guess the first Cleveland game, we kind of gave that away, and we did get the Boston Celtics down to, I think they cut the deficit down to just 3 points in both games, both recent games in that third quarter. I think actually they got it down to less than 3 or to 3 in the beginning of the fourth quarter. And then, boom. Basically, it just the Celtics put their their foot on the pedal, and they just soar out. They make adjustments. They go big, which hurts us. They make adjustments. Why aren't we making those adjustments before we get down 21 points? 24 points, 27 points. Why is that? Why do we choose to continually try to run the offense through Jalen Brunson against a very big team when we should be running it through Karl Anthony Towns and put Jalen Brunson off ball, which we did do? It ended up happening in that third quarter, and it resulted in a tremendous response by the Knicks team. They outscored the Celtics for about an 8-minute period, 35-15, to climb back into this game. Now, they used up so much energy and effort and played near perfect offensive basketball to get to that point, and I'll show you that. There will be no highlights here because when I go live and I show highlights, I get flagged with copyright issues and stuff. I may later do another video breaking that part of the game down. But here we're going to talk about just reality of where we're at right now. I love this team. I love the highs they've given us this season, but the lows are painful. And one of the reasons I brought up this whole stretch since 2020-21, and previous, when the Knicks were laughing stocks, when it was hashtag LOL Knicks, is because it's kind of back. It's back. And the national media is relishing in that fact. You know, they just throw up graphics constantly about how the Knicks are just not up to par to play with the elite, and now that's the new narrative now. And unfortunately, because it ignores all the great stuff that the Knicks have been able to achieve. This team against middling talent or even decent talent, they're able to just spank them. spank them. Teams like the Grizzlies, even the Pacers, they've punished them a couple times, I think at least once. The Knicks just, other teams, even with all the flaws the Knicks have, other teams just cannot overcome this Knicks offense. So, how are the three elite teams doing it? They're not just beating us. They are kicking our asses. Now, look, sometimes communication is poor between players. But I have a hard time believing that it really comes down to the players only. When Cat drops in coverage and he leaves KP wide open above the three-point line, we know what's going to happen there. He's going to bury it. But why is that happening? Why does that continue to happen? Why do we give up such open looks to a lethal three-point shooting team early in the game, and we don't match them shot for shot? Why does that keep happening? It has to be the actual schematic that the coach puts out there for them. It's the only answer I can have at this point. Because once the adjustment was made and the offense started looking towards Cat's direction and feeding off whatever the Celtics allow, because they're trying to shut down Karl-Anthony Towns, then others can benefit. The interesting result was, in that third quarter, when the offense started being run through Karl-Anthony Towns, and mostly it was Josh Hart initiating that, and then getting the ball to Towns and letting Brunson be off ball, Jalen Brunson goes and scores 15 points in the third quarter. So the adjustment worked, but why did it have to why did we have to painfully wait until we were down 21 points at the half for that to happen? And shout out to the bench unit who, with Towns, was able to really develop a nice little chemistry and keep the Knicks somewhat in the game. And then, unfortunately, they couldn't keep that going in the fourth quarter when Brunson sat. When Brunson and OG sat, the game just came unraveled, and the Celtics went big. And then you had, Precious Achiuwa out there, who just is an offensive black hole right now, and Mikal Bridges as well. You look at Mikal Bridges' stat line, it was abysmal. Those 5 points or 8, whatever, 7 points he scored in the fourth quarter was all in garbage time. He was, I hate to use that word to describe people, but his play was garbage until that point. It's weird to think that the New York Knicks sent 5 first-round picks to their town rival for a player like Mikal Bridges, who, honestly, he's not even as good as our former number 3 pick, R.J. Barrett. He doesn't have the impact on the court that R.J. Barrett had. R.J. Barrett, in crunch time, or times when the Knicks desperately needed a spark, he would come in and at least show the emotion, the desire to try and compete. I just don't see that from Mikal. I see dancing before the game begins. I see hugging with other players. What the fuck is that, man? The opponent is your enemy. After the game is done, you can have sportsmanship or whatever, shake hands or whatever. But before the game, I don't want to see that. I want to see the eye of the tiger before the game. I want to see full focus, because you guys get your fucking asses whooped in first quarters constantly. I forgot what even the number was, but Stephen A. Smith at halftime put it out there. The Knicks have been outscored like 70-something points in the 3 games against the Celtics. It was 68 or something. You should be embarrassed. You should come out. And where is the hunger to deliver a performance that at least your fans could tolerate? Very disappointing. Now, some may not like my negativity. I try to keep it real. I'm not a Pollyanna here, because I didn't start this channel to just kind of rah-rah whatever happens on the court. No. I started this channel to have a voice into how this team can get to the point where they can deliver another motherfucking championship before I die. I've been watching this team since I was 5 years old. And man, was that team incredible. And I don't regret ever sticking with this franchise. I love it. I love having a team that's my own. I bleed orange and blue. There's no doubt about that. I just want to see this team compete. At least give us a chance for a championship. And then actually win a championship. Did I believe when Leon made those trades in the offseason that it was giving us a chance? I did. And I still do. I still believe that this team has the ingredients to compete. Unfortunately, the reality of the results are proving me wrong. And that's a big bummer. It's a big bummer. I'm sure it's a bummer for all of you. And I'm sure you'd like for me to focus on the positives. And I'm going to right now. Here we go. Here is the positive right here. Great news on NBA Countdown. Shams reports he's hearing Mitchell Robinson's return could happen within the week. Knicks play the Grizzlies on Friday. The Mitch season debut we've all been waiting for could happen this Friday, February 28th in Memphis. That is fantastic. It's going to help. It's going to alter this team dramatically. Now, is he a savior? No, he's not a savior. But the one thing he is exactly what Thibodeau needs. Because Thibs right now is unfortunately lost. He does not know how to prepare his team properly to play the elite teams. But what he does know how to do is work with a center like Mitch, who eats up floor space defensively, who suffocates whole halves of floors, like the left side of the court, the right side of the court, wherever he's at, he suffocates the other defenders, other offensive players there. He helps put the other Knicks defenders in their right positions, and he can clean up their mistakes. That is what Thibodeau thrives on. That's what iHeart gave the Knicks. That's what Mitch gave the Knicks last season and the season before. So it is going to help dramatically. Is it going to be enough to rack up some wins against Cleveland and the Celtics? That is TBD. At this point, I believe it could get them a win or two here in a 7-game series. But you're trying to get 4 wins. How are the Knicks going to get those other 2 wins? Well, that is going to have to come from on-court adjustments. That's what's going to have to happen. And it's going to have to happen with the roster they currently have. And maybe they add TJ Warren or somebody off the buyout market, which could help. I'm not saying, because there are times when this Knicks offense desperately needs just someone who can just fucking stick a long 3. And we've seen Deuce can do it sometimes. Not even necessarily a long 3, but a nice pull-up 3. But he has been struggling in the last 2 games offensively. However, he made a huge impact in this game defensively. He kind of did a tiny bit of what Mitch is going to do, which is put the other Knicks defenders in the right spots. Deuce becoming the point of attack defender fixes a lot of issues. And it showed during that 35 to 15 point run. Deuce was on the court, not Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges at this point is the biggest disappointment of this Knicks season. I hate to say it like that. I hate to put that negativity out there on a player like that, because I really believe that Mikal has the ingredients to help slow down a Jaylen Brown, which he should be able to, really give Brown a hard time. And on the other end, he should be able to just keep draining those corner threes. Or just fight your way to the hoop, man. take some contact for once in a while. Those fadeaway Jays, I mean, it's nice to kind of mix your game up with them, but that can't be your whole game. The only time you deliver at the rim is when someone finds you in a missed defensive possession and you get a nice backdoor cut, or it's on a transition. That's the only time Mikal Bridges actually finishes at the rim. Not because he drove to the rim, drove through traffic and absorbed contact and maybe even get to the free throw line. Guy never gets to the free throw line. RJ Barrett did. All right. This is the good news. And it's very good news. Will it be enough? We shall see. New York Knicks lost 118 to 105. And actually, this final score isn't as close, is closer than what the score should have been. We probably should have lost by 20. However, there was a stretch there where the Knicks really showed some tremendous signs of life. As you can see here, Knicks led in the first minute by like 1 point. And then basically was just underwater most of the time. They were down, 19 or something? Yeah, they were down. The Celtics doubled them up in the first quarter, 38-19. The first quarter. We were already down 19 points. Then, by the half, we were down 21. Then, something happened. See where the dip there where the Knicks were down by 27 just after about a third of the way through the third quarter? Then Deuce came into this game. And the adjustment was made. The offensive adjustment was made. And once players start hitting their buckets, it's just natural instinct. We've seen it many, many times. Their defensive prowess starts showing. They start pumping their chests up a little more. They start reacting, shuffling those feet a little better, a little crisper. The communication on the defensive end is tighter. And then it also culminated with the Celtics missing some shots. But that happened because the Knicks were suffocating that three-point line. They were chasing them off the three-point line and then rotating over properly to clog up the lane for Tatum, for White, for Brown. And then they started getting misses, starting making turnovers, and the Knicks were hitting their shots on the other end. It's a symbiotic relationship, especially with teams that are more focused on the offensive end than they are in the defensive end, which is a bizarre thing to say about a Thibodeau team. And there you go. Knicks cut that lead down to 3. I think even 2. Maybe no, it was the 3. Was the lowest the lead. The Celtics lead was chopped down to. And then Celtics made adjustments, and also Mikal Bridges came back into the game. Oh man. Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for joining me here. This is an unfortunate weekend for the Knicks. That overtime win against the Chicago Bulls set us up poorly for the next two biggest games. Why did we going to overtime to beat the Bulls? Even though the Bulls always play us tough, they've beaten us. It just showed a kink in the armor on this team, and then immediately had to play the next night in Cleveland, and they got destroyed. We got destroyed. I'm going to say we because this is my team. And then today, an early game in Boston. Similar events. But that run right there, and I'm going to get to show you guys the box office score here. Here we go. This is during that run. At the 8:38 mark of the game, I believe Deuce might have already been in the game. He comes into the game for Mikal Bridges. They played it 9 minutes straight. For 9 minutes straight, the New York Knicks dominated the championship Celtics by 20 points. Now look at that shooting. 68% from the field. They hit 6 of 7 from the three-point line. They finally started hitting some three-pointers. And they were causing some turnover. They got a steal. They had some deflections. Deuce even had a block shot. So even though offensively Deuce didn't give you any points, he gives you the defensive point of attack that you desperately need. And they have to respect, the Celtics have to respect deuce on the perimeter. And also because he can drive in and hit that little elbow midi, he's pretty good with that. Though he didn't attempt it, but they have to stay connected with him. If that's Precious or Macau, they don't really have to pay that much attention to him. So he keeps them honest. Look what happened to the Celtics during that period. Right here. They shot 3 of 9 from the three-point line. So the Knicks at least attempted 7 3-pointers to the Celtics 9. That's good. That's awareness right there. They only shot 5 of 15. They missed 2/3 of their shots. And what was the other thing? They forced them to commit 4 turnovers. Excellent. And that, I'll tell you, Brunson was fantastic in that stretch. He took a charge. Oh, wait, was that stretch? Either way, I love the way Brunson is approaching the game defensively now. He knows he's only got a few tools in his toolbox, and he brings them out. He uses them, and they actually get results. You know, poking the ball away on a tall offensive player, you know, harassing his dribble, taking up the space between, and taking the charge. I love it. He constantly is able to do that. I love that adjustment he's made. But this right here, this 9-minute stretch is what we got to hope for moving forward. And then imagine Mitch comes into here. And he is going to force more turnovers. And he's going to get any loose balls. Mitch dives on the floor. Unfortunately, you know, we don't want to see Mitch on the floor, but he does do it. His offensive rebounding is elite, best in the game. So I do believe that sunny orange and blue skies could be ahead for us if Thibs starts accepting the fact that Mikal Bridges just isn't the guy anymore. Now, could that light a fire under him and wake him up? Maybe. But I think Bridges' ass has got to be on the pine a lot more than it's been. He can't. I think he's the most played. I think he averages the most minutes in the NBA still. Never misses a game. Let's get back to this here. Team comparison. Shout out to the chat. I'll address the chat pretty soon. So here you can see second chance points. Celtics 16-13. Points in the paint almost even. 50-48. Fast break points, 21-17. So Celtics won all of these, but not by much. Not by much. And that was the hustle that we saw in that unit, especially when Cam Payne was out there as well. Even though, he did miss a few buckets here and there, he was able to keep us around in that second quarter. So it wasn't like a 30-point deficit. It's terrible to even say that. Only 21 assists for the Knicks tonight to Celtics 27. Only 40 rebounds for the Knicks. So you can see we got beaten almost every key stat here. But what I do love is that the New York Knicks actually outshot the Boston Celtics. But again, that was probably some late garbage time minutes there influencing that with Mikal hitting a 3. But the Knicks shot almost 39% from the three-point line to the Celtics 38.6%. Ooh, man, that's dismal. That is dismal. One thing I wanted to show here, the bench points, 21-15 for the Knicks. And I guess that was the main thing I wanted to show here. But the most points scored in a quarter in this game were by the Knicks in that third quarter, 39-25. Nice. The Knicks actually won the entire second half, 62-54. 62-54. All right, let's get back here. In 3 games against the Celtics this year, the Knicks have been outscored by a total of 63 points. 63 points. And most of that was in the first quarter. Damn. NBA Central here. The New York Knicks are 0-7 versus the top 3 teams. And then Mark Berman chimes in from Miami, from Palm Beach, wherever he lives. Lost weekend. And Thibs is lost. Keeping Cat out there in the final minutes as he hobbled out is just bizarro. Totally bizarro. I haven't even talked about that yet because that is a big topic to discuss here. Thibs on Cat coming back late in fourth quarter after getting hurt. He said he was fine. So, Knicks were down 18 with 4 minutes left, and that's when Cat checked back in the game. What's the fucking point, bro? What is the point? I mean, you saw it with your own eyes. Who cares what the player says? You were the head coach. Your job is to protect the players. Put them in a situation they can win, not lose them for the rest of the season. Or who knows? Who knows? I mean, this is a coach. I mean, I don't want to Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose. We cannot risk this guy jeopardizing our best player for the rest of the season by putting him back in with 4 minutes left, down 18. That is sheer lunacy, man. Bizarro is the word. That was totally bizarre. Now, was it reassuring to see Cat come back into the game? It was a little bit. But if the score was maybe, I would even say, if the Knicks were within 10 points with 4 minutes left to play, okay. If the guy says fine, put him back in. But 18 points against the Celtics, who just soared, basically you had cut the lead, the deficit down to 3, and then boom, went on a 15-plus run. And with 4 minutes left, you think it's a good idea to put Karl-Anthony Towns back in the game? That shows poor judgment. So, if that's poor judgment, isn't it poor judgment in terms of scheming? Isn't that poor judgment as well? It shows that Thibs is starting to feel the heat. 0-7 is a huge red flag. Huge. And it's not just because they're 0-7. It's also it's also the way they're getting their asses beat against these elite teams. There's no way that you're going to tell me that the disparity in talent is so great between those three teams and the Knicks and the rest. And meanwhile, because the Knicks do to the rest of the league, basically, what the top three do to them. So you're going to say it's that much of a disparity? Impossible. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. The only constant here is this man right here. Now, in the previous post game, I called it out. I said if the Knicks get ousted in the first round or a gentleman's sweep in second round, Thibs doesn't deserve the right to hold on to the job. He, in my opinion, that is just the reality of it. If you're a stockbroker and you're supposed to deliver X amount of earnings to your clients and you don't, they're going to fire you. It's just the reality. Any job. If you get a job, if you're challenged in your job to do X, Y, Z, and you fall way short of that, you're going to get fired. This is the situation here. Tom Thibodeau, you're on alert. Got to figure this shit out. You're supposed to be a defensive guru, and that is the thing that you are the weakest at the moment against these elite teams. And it's because you refuse to wake up to the reality that you need to defend a three-point line, and that drop coverage is a bullshit defensive scheme. Just is, especially against the elite teams who know how to adjust, who know how to score in all three levels and excel beyond the arc. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. Mikal Bridges in Boston. 14 points, 7 of them in garbage time. So it was 7. So he had 7 points before the garbage time. 0 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. He's a minus 23. Game worst, minus 23. Let's get back to this here. Here we go. Look at this. minus 23. Josh Hart, who played 40 minutes, he was a minus 12 in this game. The only other Knick in double digits, in minus double digits right now. But Mikal Bridges was a minus 23 in his 28 minutes of play. What do you do? What do you do? Well, maybe, you know, here's the thing. The problem, here's the difficulty of the situation. Do you bench Mikal Bridges? Does he come off the bench? Do you start Deuce? I mean, Deuce. Look at Deuce. Look at this. This is an interesting thing for box score watchers, which I am one of them, right? So Mikal finishes with 14 points. Deuce only has 2 points, shoots only 1 of 7, misses all 4 of his three-point attempts. They play virtually the same amount of minutes, but Deuce is only a minus 4. So in the 27 minutes that Deuce was on the floor, the Knicks were only outplayed by 4 points. That is well within the so that means if Deuce hits 1 3-pointer and 1 2-pointer connects on that, so if he's 3 of 7 and 1 of 4 from the 3-point line, that means the Knicks win those minutes when Deuce is on the floor. And we know Deuce can do that. Now he's a little undersized, so it is harder for him to get a shot off. But just shows right there that when you have a player who's willing to dig defensively and harass the opponents and make them uncomfortable, because that's the key to beating a Boston Celtics team. Make them uncomfortable offensively so that they don't, once they're comfortable, those percentages start rising, especially from the 3-point line. And you can't have a team like that feel comfortable. You need players on the court who are scrappy, who are willing to get down and dirty, and are willing to take the punishment when they go to the hoop. Mikal Bridges right now is not that guy. Maybe he's nursing an injury or two. Maybe he's got some fatigue. You know, the minutes load he's endured already this season is insane. It could all be all of that. But whatever it is, an adjustment must be made before you're down 27 points. All right. Thank you for the shout out to the chat. Again, my name is George. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Hit the thumbs up button for me and drop your comments. And especially if you're watching this later on, definitely want to hear your thoughts and feelings about anything Knicks. What's up, Lex? Thank you for joining me, brother. We need to start games in the first, same way as we do in the third. Absolutely. Slow start, not getting foul calls, and Thibs mentally challenged. Rotations is killer against top-tier teams. 0-7. Absolutely. Absolutely. Chaos Kid. What's happening, man? Fire Thibs. Hire Patino. Ooh, I love me some Rick Pitino. Let's see. Patino's not available. He's not available. What's up, D Nice? Good to see you, man. Rudy Pooty. Sandman. Thibs not going to adjust. You know what? I can't remember if I actually said this to you or to you guys, but you know what? I think this guy, I think he is going to adjust. And I think that the third quarter showed it. Unfortunately, putting Cat back in the game kind of also showed how desperate he is. But in a way that could be a slight positive, because a desperate Thibs is good for us, is good for the team, because it means he's willing to explore alternatives. He's willing to explore them. We've seen it in the past. It's possible this could finally wake him up. I'm sure the one thing that I'm sure of is there is not a person on this planet who hates what happened today more than Tom Thibodeau, who hates this narrative more, the 0-7 Knicks against top-tier teams, who hates the fact that it's the defense that is letting this team down. Now, the Knicks were only scored 105 points today, and they only scored 105 against Cleveland. Now, a lot of that It's just, I mean, Boston is a tremendous defensive team, and their size is championship level. They just can put size all the way around the court, and that's difficult for a team that has undersized guards, as the Knicks do, except for Mikal. Mikal's got good size, but Brunson small, Deuce is small, Campaign is small, and Landry Shamet has some decent size, and actually he gave the Knicks some decent minutes in that first half, but didn't see any of him in the second half at all. Yeah, in fact, here, let's go back to this. See, Shamet, in his 5.5 minutes of play, hit 2 3-pointers. He got a steal. He got a nice steal, couple rebounds. He was looking pretty good, But then, come the second half, no Shamet at all. Zero Shamet. Now, it also did. The Knicks they went on a nice run, so I wasn't sure exactly when he was going to bring Shamet back in. But I would have turned to Shamet instead of Mikal Bridges in that fourth quarter. He didn't. Yeah, this is total fool's gold. 5 of 7 in the second half for Mikal. Total fool's gold. But look at Towns, 7 of 11. He looked fantastic in that second half. 19 points, 15 for Brunson. But this was all in the third quarter. In the fourth quarter, look what Brunson did. 0 points. Only took 2 shots in his 7.5 minutes of play. Just mind-boggling, man. Man, who else we got? Michael Hawkins. They didn't take that game. Knicks gave that first game away. You're not watching. And also, then you are complicit in this shit. I'm trying to fucking point out that this Knicks team has the ingredients they need to fucking play correctly. They need to make adjustments. You can't just say, oh, well, the team just took it. Nah. No team takes it from you. You give it away. By lack of effort, number one, and execution, number two. Sandman says, why was Pacom wasn't? Yeah, I don't know. Because why? Because Thibs won't trust the rook. He's 19 years old, but the dude's got length. He can be out there. Why not? Let's see what he can do against Derek White. Let's see. Oh, man. All right, let's talk about Precious now. Let's talk about Precious here. So, interesting here. So, in the first half, Precious played 10 minutes. Not bad. Knicks were only down 3 during his stretch of time. What I do like is that he limited his... the Cleveland was baiting him into shooting constantly, and he took the bait and could not deliver. So at least Precious was aware enough to not do that this time. He kept his shot attempts to a minimal, but picked up a couple assists, but only 1 rebound. Only 1 rebound in 10 minutes of play. That just is embarrassing, I got to say. Now, look, Towns is, gobbling up every rebound possible, but still, that just can't happen. And in the second half, Precious only played 4 minutes. No shot attempts. Did get an assist, but no rebounds as well. His impact is just diminishing with every game. Diminishing with every game. I mean, it's so late in the year. I mean, is a coaching change now something that maybe really should be considered? Let's discuss it in this way. What if no change is made? Mitch comes back, and everyone stays healthy. The Knicks finish third, and that means, and then they take care of business against whoever they face in the first round, and now they face the Boston Celtics in the second round. And by the way, it still could be Cleveland, because the Celtics are determined right now. You can see it, to be as fantastic as they can be. They have been punishing teams of late by like 20 plus points. And if you heard Windhorst in the postgame discussion, he was actually somewhat a little bit impressed by the way the Knicks were able to respond in this game. For that stretch. They're the team that's played them the toughest recently. All right. Okay. And then next Friday, Cleveland and Boston play against each other again. So we'll see what happens. But there is a chance that the Celtics are able to take that first seed away from the Cavaliers. There's a chance, especially the way they've been playing of late. That would be good for us, obviously, because then we won't face the Celtics in the second round, but we'd face the Cavaliers in the second round. And they beat the shit out of us recently. So it's not like it's better for us. But the Celtics definitely right now look like an unbeatable team for the New York Knicks. I don't look at the Cavs that way. Like I still see the Cavs. I still see vulnerability in the Cavs, and especially with Mitch coming back. So I would rather face them in the second round. But put that aside. Let's look at the situation currently, what it is right now. Situation is Knicks would face the Celtics in the second round. Right now, I think we'd be lucky to win 2 games off of them. At this point, we'd be lucky to win 1 game off of them. But let's say we win 2 games and we're sent home in that second round. So that means we didn't get as far as we did last season. And that's after the Towns trade, after trading away 5 first-round picks for Bridges. And you're going to end up with a you didn't go as far this season as you did last season. Meanwhile, you went all in with these players. That is not a good result. That's embarrassing right there, honestly, to some extent. And you would have to, look at the coach. You brought these players in, and your coach should be able to maximize that talent to improve upon the results of the previous year. Well, he didn't. So that is so then now you got to let him go, and you got to look for a coach in the offseason and see if you can put together a roster that and find a coach that can figure out how to maximize the talent on your roster to get to a championship level. Well, you could also make that move now. You could make that move now. And it's an uncomfortable conversation to have. But the answer to the big question, should the Knicks move on from Tom Thibodeau as their head coach? I think the answer is yes. Look what happened in Detroit. Ironically, it's with Bickerstaff, who was let go from the Cavs. And the Cavs brought in Kenny Atkinson. And look where they're at right now. And look at the Detroit Pistons. Look at them now. They're in the playoffs. Teams can respond to new voices. And it's possible that this is what might have to happen here. Now, who would that be? It's hard to say. I wouldn't even know right now who I would look to. Some people might say Mark Jackson and stuff, but I don't think that's the answer right now. We need someone who will understand the situation of the current modern NBA, especially from a defensive standpoint. Now, I can easily make the argument, no. Thibs is a defensive mastermind. He will eventually figure this out. He's got Mitch Robinson coming back. Well, that's a lot of ifs. I think it's possible that, hey, what's up, buzzer beater? I think it's, there's 24 games left, right? 24 games left in the season. If you fired Thibodeau right now, and I don't know, maybe, but the thing is, we don't even have Mo Cheeks. I don't know. That's the problem. We're in a tough spot. We don't know who to turn to at the moment. We haven't put anyone else on the roster that could easily step in like we had last season with Johnny Bryant. Johnny Bryant's sitting next to Kenny Atkinson in Cleveland. If Johnny Bryant was still here, I'd be advocating heavily. Let's promote Thibs into the front office and let Johnny Bryant run the show for the rest of this season and see what happens in the offseason. But we don't have that answer right now. I'm going to do some thinking about that. Danny Hurley from UConn. Well, he is a great coach. but he is a great coach. But who wants to step into this right now, too, as well? I don't know if you guys can put answers out for me. If you're watching this later on, or if after you've watched this later on and you get a thought or whatever, just drop it in or tag me on social media or drop it in the comments here. Because I'm curious. I think it might be time to look elsewhere for a head coach. Because these two guys sitting right there are two of the best offensive players in the NBA by two of the top 10. So the Knicks have two of the top 10. And theoretically, with OG and Mikal, we have two of the top 15 defensive players in the game, theoretically, though Mikal hasn't been there. But you can see OG, when OG was put on Tatum, he started frustrating him tremendously. Tatum was 2 of 8 in the second half of the game. 2 of 8. And that can't be understated because that really helped. He hit the 2 shots he did make were from the 3-point line. Yeah, he only had 8 points. He was a minus 15 in the second half. Let's look at this. So, OG. See, remember when I said that when Deuce came into the game, it helped put the other players in the right spots defensively? Well, this was the result. When OG was primarily focused on Tatum, he was able to force him into some bad shot attempts and commit turnovers. He got 3 turnovers. Was a minus 15. Pritchard was a non-factor in that second half. But Porzingis was 1 of 6. All the switching helped tremendously. Derek White did hurt us, but we can see the Celtics lost the second half by 8 points. Now, it was a little more than that because we saw the garbage time with Mikal. So let's say they lost it by 15 points. It was almost even. But if the Knicks were there in the first half, this could have been a nice nail biter. A nice nail biter towards the end. Ooh, Eddie Alvarez comes through. The problem I see for Jay Wright is he has 0 NBA coaching experience. Now, he could be the answer off season. He could be. Though I think he's enjoying his retirement. Yeah, there's no way. Gerard B. Yeah, there's like 0%, 2% chance that Leon fires Thibs. I don't think he'd fire him. He's gonna promote him because Thibs is still a great judge of talent. He commands respect. He did bring a winning culture back to the Knicks, and you cannot just dismiss him after that. It wouldn't be right. He would needs to be promoted into the organization like what happened with Brad Stevens. But he's not going to take over Leon's job, but he could definitely be a key member of the upper echelon in terms of consulting. So I think definitely keeping him around would be the right move. You can see. I mean, the coaches are working. They have jobs right now. That's what I would be looking at. But they're definitely, I believe that the time may have come to look elsewhere for head coaching. And I think if you believe that this is the season to do it, then if this is the best chance the Knicks have of going deep, and maybe even getting to the finals, then you can't do much with your roster at the moment, except maybe bring in TJ Warren and then you're adding Mitch Robinson. But you're going to need to look at making a coaching change because Thibs has proven that he's too scared to make the adjustments that are needed to make before the jump ball at the beginning of the game. And then we know he's not a great in-game adjustment coach, though today he did make a big one in benching McCall and bringing in Deuce and sticking with him, and they went on that nice 35-15 run to get back in this game. But that was already after the Knicks were underwater. It's going to be interesting. All right. Let me see. Let's look at the chat here. Thanks, everyone, for joining me here. Appreciate it. Jay Wright. Yeah, I like that. Van Gundy. That would be an interesting one. Would the Clippers let Jeff out of his contract right now? That's an interesting one. I didn't even want to think about JVG at that point, but I would like it, honestly. I would like it. Yeah, it is time for a coaching change. I think now is time for it. I mean, I'm actually now, as I'm talking more and more, I'm convinced that that's the best move at the moment. Because the question becomes this. Here's what it comes down to. This is the question. Do you believe that Tom Thibodeau, this head coach, even with a healthy Mitch, and you add another piece like a TJ Warren, do you believe that that coach could get this team past the Celtics or the Cavs, or at least compete with them? Do you believe that? If all goes right, do you believe that this coach could do it after an 0-7 against the elite teams? At this point, my belief level in that is near zero. Near zero. So, do I believe that making a shrewd coaching change today could reinvigorate this roster into a position where they actually can compete with the Cavs and the Celtics? Do you believe that they gives you a better chance of closing the gap? I think it does. So once you weigh those two things, there's really only one choice. You make the change. Now, it's got to be the right coach. I love the idea of a Jay Wright. I just wish he had had some NBA experience by now. But Jeff Van Gundy would be a tremendous. He's done it before. He's taken over a Knicks team midway through a season and elevated their play. Interesting. I'm going to leave you guys with that. I appreciate you guys joining me here. I'm going to eat a late lunch. Going to watch this Warriors-Mavericks game, or the rest of it, whatever's still going on. I don't even know what's happening. Going to put more thoughts into how this Knicks team can improve, because I have a hard time accepting that this roster is basically a minus 25-point roster to the Cavs, Celtics, and OKC, no matter what you do. I have a hard time believing that, especially with the way that this team dominates the rest of the NBA. Make no mistake about it right now. The Knicks are the fourth best team in the NBA, and they cannot even come close to beating the three teams above them. That is a coaching issue. Thank you so much for watching this. Again, my name is George. Please subscribe, hit the thumbs up button for me, and drop your comments. I want to hear your thoughts and feelings about everything I've spoken about here today, and whatever other thoughts you may have about the Knicks. I still believe this team is going to give us some thrills, and I love the team that's been assembled. I just wish that, man, they just showed more fight against these elite teams, especially early on. You know, getting down by 19 points, being doubled up in the first quarter, just ain't going to cut it. Okay, I will see you around the Knicks-Verse. Let's make that coaching change.